Wait a second. Jared Kushner still has security clearance? Dyze in your house.
Nobody likes me. Nobody likes me. But that's okay, because I don't like y'all anyway. Man, I don't like y'all anyway.
We need to pay attention to all this stuff. And don't muddy the waters. Don't let your mind get sidetracked. Because you need to remember that when, it's going to be time to vote again soon. So it's going to be local elections, all this stuff, everything, all these elections. You have to remember that the Republicans would rather collude with Russians than collude with Americans.
Them Staten Island niggas still puffing them dust blunt.
Donald Trump is a white supremacist who enables white supremacists. No lie. I mean, that's accurate. It's an accurate assessment of the situation.
Them Staten Island niggas still puffing them dust blunt.
Dragnets. How do they work? Just say no. Yeah. Here's the problem with just saying no. You can go about your life trying not to do drugs, but you turn on the news and you see Wigmaster over there talking about public health emergencies. That's why drugs are hard to stop. Because of people like that. Big week. It's always a big week. Can't we please have an uneventful week? That's all I want. All I want is one.
Them Staten Island niggas still puffing them dust blunt.
Oh, Jay, why are you wearing that resist shirt? What are you resisting? Bunch of isms and trees. Bigotry, misogyny, racism, fascism, and sexism. The people here the people on the South Shore, in the rich neighborhoods, the richer neighborhoods, not the poor neighborhoods, are brought up on bigotry, hatred, and classification of, societal roles.
Hey, yo. Who's in the house? Dyze in your house. What is the word, peeps? It is Friday. It is the afternoon. And I'm coming at you with another action-packed edition of Dyze in your house. That's where we have the pre-show, the post-show, the prelude to the ever-extending J Pork's podcast. It's long form, and it gets longer form every single week. Last week we went 90 minutes. This week we're going to go pretty long. We're going to talk a lot about, the topic we're talking about today, which is corruption. But I just want to give you guys a little heads up as to what you need to do if you want to keep it locked to Least Coast Radio for the least heard voices. What you will do is you will go to your iTunes podcast app. Should be on your phone. If you have an Android phone, I'm sure there's a podcast app. And you will search for J Porks. You will search for Least Coast Radio. Or you will search for Dyze in your house. And what you're going to do is you're going to hit subscribe. And you're going to leave me a review. Leave me a star rating. It doesn't have to be good. It could just be, whatever you feel is the necessary thing to leave. You can write that you hate me. But here's what I don't want you to do. If you want to, listen, it's America, and everybody's allowed to like and dislike the things they like, blah, 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 freedom, piece of cloth, all that stuff. But I'm going to say this, and I'm just about done with it here. Will be addressing things on my podcast. If you're one of my friends who wants to ask me a question or deride my liberal views, I will not be doing so in comment threads on Facebook. I will not be doing so a lot on Twitter. I mean, I will correct a mofo, because suckers gots to know. You know what I'm saying? Suckers gots to know. So I will put people in their place, but if you're my friend and you look from afar and you're like, oh man, I'm so not liberal like Jay is, and I hate him. Like, I hate what he's doing. Don't look at the title of my podcast and the little blurb I put on the Facebook post and make a comment based on that. Why don't you say, hey, Jay, listen, I would like to know this. I'll be listening. But if you're not going to listen, I'm not going to engage you. Because there's a reason I have this podcast. The podcast, this is where I will talk about this stuff. This is where I will answer all of your questions, all of your desires. I will tell you what you want answered. If you want to know why I'm, liberal, ask me anything. AMA, like it's Reddit. You could. And the channels are always open to go on Twitter at JPorks, on Facebook at JPorks. But ask a question or make a point that I could disagree with. Like, I don't need people, like if I put lots of corruption going on this week, I don't need you to comment where, oh, well, Hillary. That has no substance to it. Give me something I could use. Give me something I could talk about on my podcast. Don't just sit there and cry because you're somehow conservative. It's weird. These people are my friends. These people are from New York City. These people went to the same schools as me, grew up in the same neighborhoods as me. What happened to you? What happened to any of you? All right. So anyway, so if you have like a beef, we can make it an episode. But don't. I will not be engaging anymore. Commenting on Facebook to people I know didn't listen to the podcast. If you listened and then you want to chime in like, hey, I was just listening, what you said here, explain that. Fine, cool, but you need to listen. You need to listen or I'm not giving you the time of day. And that's the end of that. Okay. Let's talk about something today. Now, if you've been, I know the JPorks podcast is long form. I know there's a lot of Russian last names that I pronounce wrong. A lot of now names from people from the Middle East, whether it's Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE. It's a lot of names and big words that I mispronounce when I'm reading these articles. And I apologize about that. But you know what? If you've been paying attention, then you will remember that Jared Kushner is all sorts of corrupt. It seems like every other week there's some financial conflict of interest with Jared Kushner. First of all, he's the secretary of everything. He's going to solve peace in the Middle East and the opioid crisis. This guy has never worked in government one day in his life. He probably has never even watched cable news that's not CNBC for the stock report in his life. And those are the two policies that he's going to take care of. Only problem with that is that Jared Kushner shakes down these Middle Eastern countries for money. Oh, Jay, that's conjecture. Okay, fine. So a couple of months ago, see, the United States has like bases in Qatar or Qatar. Both pronunciations are acceptable. It's Qatar or it's Qatar. You can call it either way. So the U.S., they're an ally of ours. And Jared Kushner wanted them to buy his 666 Fifth Avenue building. Not the actual country, but, a company that's main shareholder is the Qatari government, So, after that happened, after Kushner didn't get bailed out by Qatar, or Qatar, the United States joined in on a blockade of Qatar. A blockade which everybody said, wait a second, that's our ally. Why are we involved in this? Shouldn't we be like, nah, fam, we need them. Because, we do in the geopolitical world. Okay, fine. That's policy now. Qatar didn't want to give Kushner the money for his building, so we're leading a blockade. That's policy now. That's corruption. But here's another one. Earlier this week, it broke that there is a company a company which is going to bail out Kusherm. And if you guys were watching Maddow on Thursday night, which is, you should always watch Maddow on Thursday night because that's the big show, because usually Richard Engel comes in on Friday and he does his own thing. So if you were watching last night, you saw a big piece on Trump selling foreign policy to help his family business. And I'm just going to read the long form quote from Maddow here. So who says big city real estate has to be complicated or a foreign policy for that matter? Qatar tells Kusherm family, the Kusherm family real estate company, no, we're not going to give you hundreds of $millions to bail you out of your failing skyscraper in Midtown. U.S. policy toward Qatar almost immediately turns suddenly and radically hostile against Qatar. Qatar freaks out a bit, then scrambles a bit. Qatar decides, okay, we'll take another look at the Kusherm family real estate company's skyscraper, and they decide, actually, on second thought, maybe we do really want to invest. Open checkbooks, swivel wrist, here's your money. Even if this isn't the selling of U.S. foreign policy, even if this isn't a blatant shakedown and extortion of a U.S. ally, shaking down a country for payments to the family of a government official under the threat that that country losing its favored status with the U.S. government, even if this duet of private money and public money is just a coincidence and this definitely isn't bribery and quid pro quo, well, the problem is, it certainly looks like it is. And for the nation of Qatar, their dealings with the U.S. government and with the Kusherm real estate company have certainly made them think that it is. So, I don't do much reading here on Dyze in Your House, but we had a blockade when Qatar said no. Now we lift the blockade. Pompeo says, let's lift the blockade. Now that Qatar's going to invest in that building and save Jared Kushner's ass. Now, I know she said, Rachel Maddow says, you know, even if it's not. Let me spell out what it is. It's a long, complicated word called extortion. That's exactly what this is. Extortion. It doesn't matter, like, what. Again, I keep saying this every week, 3, 4, 5 times a week. Every time I turn on the mic, every time I'm out in public, every time I'm in the world. What people need to start separating is that there are actual crimes going on, and U.S. policy is being dictated by who is going to invest in Jared Kushner's failed Manhattan skyscraper. That's no matter what you think. Maybe you think that, you know, brown people shouldn't be allowed in the country. Whatever you think, your idiotic, hateful views, your white supremacist views, don't tell me that you care that some rich, you know, New York real estate guy is getting richer because his father-in-law happened to collude and conspire with a foreign government to help murder democracy on Fifth Avenue, in front of 666 Fifth Avenue. There is no way that anybody should be out here justifying this as normal. This is not the same as Bill Clinton charging extra money for speeches when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. That's not what this is. Those were speeches. Those were not policy. And if you want to come on and tell me, oh, Jay, well, actually, Bill Clinton was talking to other countries and they were telling Hillary that, I'm sorry, that's bullshit. You know it's bullshit. I know it's bullshit. She's gone now. We can stop pretending that that shit was happening. Uranium One, we can stop. Stop bringing up Hillary Clinton to justify your hatred and your okaying corruption going on. You think there's more important things than a guy who's already rich? This isn't like some down on his luck, you know, farmer You know, this isn't some guy that lives in Kansas City, you know, cotton picker, you know, with a farm and a ranch and horses. This is not what that is. This has always been a rich guy. His father's a rich guy, and he is a rich guy who does rich guy things and is being corrupt. And now you're seeing all this New York City corruption, like how you have to, what they call greasing palms in New York City to get like a building built and stuff like that. Like all that stuff, you're starting to see it on the grand scale. And you're also starting to see that that stuff really doesn't really work. Because people find out. Like, New York is a different place where, like, you know, you'll step over someone's dead body in the middle of the street because you're late to work. You know, someone else will call an ambulance for that guy. I'm busy right now. But, like, in terms of this corruption, when it comes on the grand scale and people in, like, Kentucky see that, you know, they can't use their food stamps to buy soda, but they see Jared Kushner is deciding whether a blockade is happening against Qatar or not based on if they want to invest in his failed Manhattan skyscraper. I mean, come on, even the rural, even the backwoods Americans could agree that that's some corruption right there. It really is. And I don't care. I mean, not I don't care like, I care about it dearly, but I don't care that I've alienated everybody I know. I don't care that people in my house look at me and whenever I start talking about anything having to do with current events today, they walk away from me, or they make a face, or they try to change the subject. I don't care that people sigh when I walk into a room because I'm about to spread my liberal views all over the place. That does not bother me. That does not concern me, because in the future, there probably won't be physical textbooks, but there's going to be documentation. There's going to be people who talk about who were these, what happened back then? Who were the people in the right? Who were the people in the wrong? Remember Schindler? Schindler had a list. You know? Porks is going to have a list too. They're going to say, oh crap. Remember that crazy Jay Porks guy? The guy who all he used to complain about is not getting good sight lines at concerts? Now he's got crappy sights into the view of politics. And you know what? Every day, resist. Every day, resist. Every day, fight for removal. And every day, just think about on November, on that Tuesday in November, we're going to go out and vote. Because we have to hold people accountable. And the way we end the corruption is if it gets hit with a big blue wave in November. Jay Porks dies in your house. Hey yo folks, Jay Porks here, recording my own commercials. Jay Porks of the legendary Least Coast Radio. If you want to find out more about Least Coast Radio, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to either YouTube or you're going to go to the podcast app on iTunes. You're going to type in Least Coast Radio. You are also, or either, going to type in Jay Porks or type in Dyze in your house. And what you're going to get is you're going to get a show, and you're going to subscribe to it. And every Friday at or around 6 o'clock, we bring you the latest breaking news coming straight off the desk of the Jay Porks podcast. The stuff we can't fit in to the long-form show on Monday on the Dare Network, we fit it in on Least Coast Radio. That's iTunes. That's Friday, 6 o'clock, podcast app. Keep it locked. If you subscribe, you could find yourself getting Jay Porks podcasts, episodes of Dyze in your house, special editions during the week. Anytime, basically, that there's something that's on the mind of Jay Porks, you will get Dyze in your house. So that's Least Coast Radio for the least heard voices. Keep it locked in 2018. This is a grassroots movement, and we are here to take over the airwaves.